Do you feel guilty when working from home and you're not sat behind a computer? Do you chastise yourself that you don't get up, get dressed and get ready for the day when working from home? Or even find yourself over-explaining how productive you are when you've been not in the office and working from home? Especially during the pandemic, I think the answer is yes, and if so, then I'm here to help because you are probably suffering from work from home guilt. Hello and welcome, my name is Brendan, I am a recovering accountant based here in London and I help millennials like you navigate busy lives and make sure that work doesn't suck. So today we're going to talk about working from home and the guilt when you're not potentially working. Now, work from home guilt is actually a thing. When the pandemic struck, it basically shattered the illusion that we couldn't function as companies and businesses whilst working from home, which I think has been an absolute godsend, but it has meant that we have had to deal with a whole plethora of other environments and other challenges when conducting our working lives, and that's why working from home and having the guilt around whether you're working or not comes to mind. Now, I am a huge proponent of the working from home culture because in actual fact, I think the working from the office 9 to 5 days a week is a outdated and broken concept. We're not living in the same environment that Henry Ford is or did when he created the 9 to 5. So with that, let's dive in and talk about work from home guilt. Now, work from home guilt is the perception that you should be in the office working harder when you are, in fact, at home. There's often a misconception that you should be offering more and being more productive when working from home, and you generally put greater emphasis on doing more, but also you start beating yourself up going, what if I'm not performing? What should I be doing more? How can I do more? What does my boss think? What are my team members doing? What is everybody else doing? Oh my goodness, I just cannot cope. Please take a step back, give yourself a moment, because I guarantee you, you're doing the best that you can. Please do bear in mind that the pandemic has actually meant that we've been online more. If you are working from home, then the chances are that you've had your computer or your laptop on, and you've probably been contactable more during the day and into the evenings than if you'd actually been in the office. Gone are the days where you would commute into the office, log in, spend a few minutes talking to the water cooler, catching up with friends, then sitting down, maybe you can then go and get a cup of tea, then you come back and you do some work. Whereas at home, you climb out of bed, you have a shower, you get ready, you sit down, and all of a sudden, you're in the office. We are now contactable and online more because the segregation between the working day and the non-working day has been blurred. You'll probably find yourself working well into the evening. You might even just have a little log on to your emails later at night just because the computer's there, whereas in the past, you probably wouldn't have done that. And that's why it's putting people under pressure and making some have guilt around working from home. But I want to give you the tips to help you counter the working from home guilt because it is not a great place to be. Plus, working from home is here to stay and we've all got to get used to it. So with that, let's dive in. To overcome working from home guilt, one of the things that I've implemented is actually determine when people are working. Now you might raise your eyebrow and say, well, surely people are working during the day. Well, that is technically true. But if I cast my mind back to previous jobs, I had a boss who would generally start work at 7 a.m. and often would send me emails and things that we needed to pick up on at 7:30. Now, I'm not going to respond at 7:30 because that's not when I started my day. I would start at around 9 o'clock and I would then start to address some of the questions that he was asking, and he would say, well, why haven't I had a response? Well, quite frankly, I'm not starting work at 7:30. Now, conversely, if a question was raised in the evening from 5 or 6 onwards, I would quite happily work to 7, 8 in the evening because I don't have children, I don't have responsibilities at the moment, so all of a sudden I can work into the evening and it didn't disrupt my life. The point I'm trying to make is understand when people work best. Some would rather front end the day and get started early doors, so from the 6, 7, 8 o'clock starts, and others like myself would probably work better into the evenings from the 6, 7, 8 o'clocks because we have that capacity to do so. But if you don't understand and know what works best for each of your team members or your peers or your boss, there can be a real miscommunication and a real worry around, oh shit, should I still be online now? Should I still be doing this? What happens if they send me an email? But if you're clear up front, that some like working early, some like working late. It just removes any of that ambiguity. So first things first, note down when people are best at working, whether they have any challenges around that, but capture it so that there is no ambiguity or misunderstanding. It is now also worth bearing in mind that we're all living at work. It's a phrase that I heard quite early on in the pandemic, and it is so true. As I mentioned at the beginning, commuting is becoming a less and less regular occurrence, and so all of a sudden we are now living in the environments that we work in. The segregation between having that time to mentally prepare for the day or unwind at the end of the day has gone. So we are now living at work, and that brings a number of challenges, whether it could be a poor office setup, you have a lack of space, you have drilling or lots of things going on around you, you could have childcare, you could have all sorts of competing demands. Just bear in mind that if it's hard at the moment, it will get easier, but we do need to bear in mind that we are all living at work. And with that means we just got to let go of things. Don't beat yourself up. You are doing the best you can, and that's all that counts. If you can give your best in the face of adversity, and you might be working off the side of your bed, or you're perching on the corner of the kitchen table, or you've got a really poor Wi-Fi connection, whatever it may be, just know that the effort that you're putting in is worth it. There will always be some in a more fortunate position, and there will always be some in a less fortunate position. But do what you can and put the effort in, because it will be rewarded. But don't be afraid to tell people. Working from home is hard. Living at work is even harder. But we are all in this together, and sharing your experiences and telling people what you're doing is half the battle. You don't actually come to work to learn how to trust somebody, so we should also bear that in mind when it comes to managing remote teams. I, for one, am not a micromanager, because there is actually nothing worse than a micromanager. I think they should all just be banished to the far-off lands, but really we need to learn how to trust somebody, because that's why we've employed them. You don't come to work to learn how to trust somebody, so why should we suffer that when we're working from home? We're all adults. If you have a problem, pick up the phone, log into a Zoom, whatever it might be, but talk to people. Because you don't come to work to learn how to trust somebody. That's endemic of being an adult, and the reason why you were employed. You will actually be more productive than you feel. Studies have proven this. Just because you're not sat in the office and cranking away on a particular spreadsheet or working on a presentation and your head down and everybody's noticing how productive you are, that doesn't mean that you're not being productive. Working from home allows us to have one of two things. Either we can try and batch our work into big chunks, or it just gets broken up into more bite-sized chunks as we go through. Kind of depends what's actually most beneficial for you. I quite like having the chunks done so I can dip in and dip out, but that's just the way I work. But you are far more productive than you realize. It's a bit like self-perception. We always perceive ourselves in a slightly different way, and it could be positive or negative, but you are being productive. But if you're worried about that, why don't you just ask and check in? Check in with your boss. Check in with your peers. Just ask, how am I getting on? It's quite a brave step and quite a mature step to ask for constructive feedback, but it's one of the best ways to negate the anxiety and the fear and the guilt of working from home. If you can create that honest relationship with those around you, they will also tell you when it feels like you're not pulling your weight, which is always good to know because you can then correct it. But also they will tell you when you are doing a great job, which can only be a good thing. So if in doubt, please do check in and ask for some feedback. It is also important to embrace the change. Now, working from home is here to stay, thank goodness. I think it's a great thing, but it also means that we're going to have to get used to it. We're going to have to be used to seeing people offline and not automatically think, why are they not working? Because they might be dealing with life, whether it's going to pick up a prescription or going to the dentist or having to deal with a child that's having a tantrum. Shit happens. We're just going to have to deal with it. Embrace the change. Try and create a good setup from home, like a workstation and an environment. Do the best that you can, but also ask for help. Ask for help in terms of what works for others so that you can try and apply it to yourself. Some people deal with change really well, others don't. I'm reasonably comfortable with it when it comes to working environments. I used to love working not from the office. Very rarely, actually, would anybody get the best out of me if you made me come into the office 5 days a week, 9 to 5, because it's just not how I work. It was mind-numbingly dull, and I just hated it. And if I hated it, then you're not going to get the best out of me. Conversely, being able to work from wherever you want, now you're going to get more out of me. Plus, you're probably going to get longer hours and a greater output. So embrace the change, do what you can, control the controllables, and those things that you can't control, just let go. Now, this is something that I wholeheartedly embrace and I pass on to my teams, and it is the mantra of you do what you need to do when you need to do it. Sounds silly, right? But it's so true. If you work in projects, when it's on, it's really bloody on. It's full on, and it's probably all hands to the pump, and it's quite hard work, and you get to the end of it and you think, oh, okay, right, I'm good now. But that's exactly the point. When working from home, you can be all-encompassing, and you might have to ignore the distractions around you. But if you've got 8 hours worth of work, and you manage to do it in 6, kudos to you. High five. Love it. Now I say to my teams, if you've got 8 hours worth of work and you do it in 6, take those other 2 hours and go and spend time with the family. Go and do something to rejuvenate. Go and do something to recharge, because that is down to your productivity. That's down to you. If you want to pick up and do 2 hours of work on something else, brilliant. But don't beat yourself up. If you've been more productive than you have previously and you've got done what you needed to do, take a step back. Okay, excellent. What can I do with that time? Can I take some time out? Can I go to the gym at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or at 11 o'clock in the morning? Can I go for a walk, or can I have a phone call, or just have some time out? If you're really on when it needs to be done, you need to be really off when it doesn't need to be done. The analogy I use is actually, having played a lot of cricket, it's like being in the slips. So the slips stands next to the wicketkeeper, who is the person that catches the ball with the funny gloves after the bowler's bowled each ball. And the reason for saying this is, it is the position where a lot of opportunities for a wicket happen, but they are very, very quick opportunities. Usually the batsman slashes, i.e. plays at a ball, catches an edge, and it flies through to the person at the slips. Either you're going to take a great catch, or it might just whistle by. Now, the reason for saying this is you cannot be fully concentrated all the time. So once the bowler's bowled and it doesn't come to you, you just relax. Look at those around you, look at the grass, look at the people in the stands, look at the sunshine, whatever it might be. But when the bowler is coming in, you need to be fully focused and ready for those 5 or 6 or 7 seconds to determine whether you actually have to do something. Working from home is kind of the same. You can't be 100% focused for 8 hours all day, every day. It's just not possible. And if somebody says it is, nonsense. So when you need to be on, be fully focused. When you need to be off, relax. There are certain methodologies that talk about having 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off, depending on whether it's a half hour or an hour's workshop or meetings that you're dealing with. Have a look at them. But just find what works for you, but know that you cannot be on all of the time. Otherwise you will burn out, and that benefits nobody. And that's it. They are my tips for dealing with working from home guilt. Please don't let it happen to you. If you do feel like you're feeling guilty from working from home and you're not always in front of the computer, which inevitably you won't be, also be safe in the knowledge that there's a lot of other people that are doing exactly the same. You will need to make sure that you continue to produce high quality outputs, but please don't beat yourself up that you're not producing what you need to, and that others are doing far more than you. Yes, some may be, and some maybe not. But it is something that you need to deal with, and all it does is lead to anxiety. Well, if you found this video helpful, please do write me a comment. I would love to hear from you, but also do check out this video here where I talk about the career advice that I've been given as I've been throughout my career, and I think millennials will really find it useful too. But with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.